Welcome to the show, The First Generation Mindset. My name is Kunal Seth, and welcome to the First Generation Mindset podcast. As a first generation immigrant, I came to the US with nothing to try and create the success and financial freedom that I always dreamed about. 2 decades later, I feel so lucky to have a life I love and helping entrepreneurs, real estate brokers, and executives find the path to create success for themselves. Through my real estate company, the Seth Brothers, and my own business pursuits, I mentor folks on the most important thing they can have to find success, and that's a first generation mindset. The first generation mindset is a hunger to succeed and a relentless pursuit, regardless of any obstacle. Whether you are making more money than you dreamed about or starting from scratch, waking up every morning with a state of mind is essential. I interview some of the top people on this planet, and today is no exception. Today we have Jeff Yates on the Zoom call today, sharing with us his mindset, his success story. Jeff, so excited to have you on the podcast this morning. How are you doing today?
Man, I'm fantastic, and I'm so glad you gave me the opportunity to be on your show, and I've been waiting, and today's the day.
Absolutely, Jeff. So briefly about Jeff, he's based in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but he comes from a family that's been in the auto industry for decades. His parents, his uncles, they're all in the business. And Jeff himself was in the auto business for not one, not two, but 3 decades. And early on this year, in April 2022, he said, I'm done living my mama's dream, living my daddy's dream, and living in the world that was right for them. I'm going to make my own path of success. So one of the key philosophies Jeff has, we all say, believe in yourself, believe in yourself, believe in yourself. But Jeff says, believe in your cell. That's SELL. And when you believe in yourself, you become unstoppable. So this show, we're going to be unfolding, and Jeff is going to share with us his mindset, his strategy, what made him transition from 3 decades in the auto industry and become a self-employed entrepreneur who coaches, mentors, and trains people on a regular basis. Jeff, super excited. Would love to hear your story, your transition from auto industry to being self-employed.
You know, it's been quite a ride. We talked a little bit before the show, but I'll kind of summarize for you. But I have been super blessed. I was in the automobile industry for over 30 years. My dad's uncles were in the business. I mentioned earlier in the 50s and 60s in Mississippi, 30 some odd dealerships, great lineage of family that had been around it, great service, learned a lot of great things. And obviously the industry over the years has changed in many ways, like all of ours have. I learned so many things from so many great people. But like anything else, and you said it best, whose dream are you living, right? And the thing about entrepreneurship people talk about is it's like, man, it's super exciting and it's out there and it's great. But what they don't talk about is there's that dynamic moment when you realize it's time. It's time to walk away and start anew and create something. And that's the part that a lot of people struggle with. And I was that guy, 30 years in the business. But you learn so much, and you've heard this 1,000 times before, but it's not about things that happen to us, but they happen for us, right? And it's being able to take all those life experiences and help those to make you better. So through that, as I mentioned, training became something that I really enjoyed, being able to dive into people and all the different personalities. I worked with domestic stores, import stores, luxury stores, being able to dive in and really figure out what it is that people need. I go back to the industry when I first started. I was 20 years old. Well, I was selling cars at 18, detailing cars at 16. At 20 years old, I walked into the finance department. I'm as baby faced as I am today. White shirt, red tie. I mean, I look like $1 million and I look like I'm 10. So I was sitting there and I was like, man, what am I doing? And I walked into the office and the guy said, like most training programs in the automobile industry, and I can't speak for all of them, is I walked in like, okay, well, here is your bank book, all your lenders. Here's your computer. Here's your phone. And there's a customer out front waiting for you. So, yeah, I'm like, here we go, and so you walk out and it's like you learn to adapt. You learn to overcome. You learn to think on your feet. You learn to make a mistake once, right? Learn and refocus, what I call pivot, to go another direction. And so through that, what I realized, I was getting my teeth kicked in, because you're in real estate, so you understand that how many people you got to talk to and how many no's you're going to get. And so no to me is not probably no to most people. No to me just means that I need more information, right? So I haven't done my part. I haven't built enough value, and I haven't conquered what people call objections, but I call them opportunities, right? Because the only objection that's not overcomable is the unknown objection, right? If you can find out the true objection, then anything can be overcome. But you only get to that objection when somebody feels a connection to you and there's trust exchanged, right? So when I was sitting in that position, I was like, man, I'm getting my teeth kicked in. I don't know, this sales game may not be for me. I know my uncle did it, my grandfather, my dad, and my brother, and my brother-in-law, my sister married a guy in the car business. I'm like, maybe it's not for me. Maybe I'm not good enough. I'm 20 years old, and, I thought I was a pretty good guy, but I'm like, this may not be for me. And so I'm like, I keep hearing these same objections over and over again. And I'm 20. And I'm like, I'm going to write these down. So I started writing them down, and I started hearing the same ones. So I started like, how would I handle that? And so then one of the guys was like a mentor to me that I went and visited with. I'm like, man, I keep getting these same objections. We kind of talked about it, started role playing, which now became a massive passion of mine. I love the role play. It's how you get better. And so I went through that, and I learned how to be able to handle objections. So this kind of leads me to where I got to at the end of the car industry. Was I learned how to stack little victories and how to overcome objections. And I call this being able to take it, stacking from the old you to the new you to form this bridge, right? And the bridge is like from where you were to where you want to go. And so you build that. And that's built on, my opinion, that's built in your own belief in yourself. As I mentioned earlier, I had a guy that I mentioned with today, and he had all this talent. He's young, he's vibrant, he's exciting, he's got a good personality, he's a good looking guy. He's telling me all the things that I think I need to hear, but I'm like, but I don't hear it. He goes, what do you mean? I said, because it's all inside, and you got to find a way to bring it out. People have got to feel that passion, that excitement that separates you from everyone else. I said, people aren't buying a product. People are buying you.
Makes sense, Jeff. Well, if you believe in your own mission, vision in life, whether you're selling a home, car, or a mortgage, or whatever it may be, when you speak with conviction, then you have an easier sell. So share with me, you were not in the business for one or few years, but 30 plus years. So you got in the business because the family was in it. And you said, let me follow the footsteps. But what was the trigger? What made you realize? And how long were you thinking about it? What took you so long to make that jump, Jeff?
The same one that most people I talk to have. And my favorite athlete ever talked about it, fear. And his definition was false evidence appearing real.
Love that.
So when you think about it, I had all this experience and all these victories and these accolades of being in the business, right? So I'm like, why people are like, why do you want to leave, man? Like, you're so good at it, you don't need to leave. And I'm like, because it doesn't fulfill me, right? Like, I can't do what I need to do from the standpoint that I'm an unorthodox trainer, consultant, coach, because I don't have a designated script per se initially when I talk to somebody, because I want to sit down and find out who they are. And I want to dig and I want to find out what is the driver for that person, because we're going to connect that driver, which is the belief, right? And what's important to me, because what's important to you is different than what's important to me. Right. And so when I find out what's truly important to me, the core of who I am, then I can take that and attach it to what I do. And this is what I was telling him today. This is a nugget. I'm going to throw it out to you. It is the difference between salesy and connection. Right? Because what you do is, I gave this analogy. I was out to dinner couple nights ago, and I mentioned this to him. Hideaway pizza, wife, and my two girls, and we're having dinner, and we're talking. And I'm sitting there with my wife, and like this little 5-6-year-old kid sitting off the side. And imagine they're all got back from a baseball game. They got uniforms on, and he's just tugging his mom, like, Mom, Mom, Mom. He's tugging at her. And he was so excited to tell her about something. And I said, man, kids have got it figured out. I go, if we can learn to listen and spend more time with young children about how they communicate and what's important and how they get our attention, not that we want to tug on somebody, but I said, the difference is he genuinely has something so exciting that he wants to share it. And it's so bad that he cannot wait to share the good news. And if we relate that to the same thing, if we truly believe that we work with a company or a group or our company, that we're going to take great, amazing care of somebody or someone, and we're going to fulfill that, and we're going to do that, then we can transcend what that kid's emotion was at 5 years old, that we've got something so good, so great, so precious that we just can't wait to give it to somebody. It now goes to compelling.
It's not about the sale. When we present an option to a client or prospect, we want to bless them with the opportunity.
Yeah.
We believe in it so much that it brought success to me or my family, the decision I made. I'm influencing, because it's in your best interest. So, Jeff, 30 plus years. How long were you thinking about making transition? What were the trigger points that made you make the jump in 2022?
Well, to back up a little bit, it was in 21. In July of 21, I went to a conference. A bunch of guys I knew were speaking at that were guys I follow. And there were tons of speakers there. Eric Thomas is one of them that I really enjoy. And then a guy named Coach Burt that you may know Coach Burt.
Absolutely.
So
yes.
I met Coach Burt. And so when I did, it was fantastic. And I listened to him on stage. I'm like, man, there is just something special about this guy. I listened to him. I'm like, he really connects with me. It's not like this typical sales deal. So I met with one of his people. Then I met with him and we talked on the phone. And this thing went on for a couple of weeks. And as I mentioned to you previously, but we were off camera, I believe everything happens for a reason. And this was in July. I happened to be going to one of my best friend's 50th birthday party in Nashville, Tennessee, the second week of September, which was the same week he had a boot camp.
Okay.
And it was about person of interest, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And so I wasn't even going to be down there, but I happened to be down there. I'd booked this 3 months prior that I was going to be down there the exact weekend he was having the event. So he says, hey man, I want you to come down and check it out. You just come in, see what you think, you and your wife. So I took my wife, went down there, and I was super impressed with him and the setup and his vision. So I started having him coach me, right? That was back in July. That was in September of last year. So we're visiting, we're talking. I'm like, there's something that I've got. I don't feel like I'm being completely used the way I was meant to be used. And it's like, I've been in the business 30 years. I've impacted a lot of lives. I've helped a lot of people get to a different level they thought they couldn't get to. But I feel like I'm governed, like there's a governor sitting on me, and I just can't be 100% of what I want to be. And he's like, I agree. He said, have you thought about what makes you different? He goes, I believe everybody has a God-given ability that makes you different and unique. And I said, I never really have. And so we talked about it, and I struggle with it because like a lot of things for me, like people's natural God-given ability, they'll tell you is something we do so naturally that we don't even think about it. We don't work on it. It just happens. Right. So I went through this process for a little bit. Well, then in November, I went to Vegas with Brad Lee and himself, sat through a conference there, met some great people. Went to dinner, and I was talking to Coach Burton. I'm like, man, I really want to know what this deal looks like. So he connected me with Steve, with Two Market Media, and Hank. And man, I remember when I met Steve, it was like he interviewed me on the Zoom. It was an interview. I mean, let me just tell you, it was like, I don't need you. We'll decide if we're going to work together. I loved it, because it was like, okay, well, let's just talk about what you're good at and what I'm good at. Right. And so we laughed and cut up. He's like, I like you. I'm going to hook up with you. And so we ended up hooking up late mid-December. I say it was the 1st of December, late November. Him and I talked, and we started this journey together. And so he did the same thing he did with me, did with you probably, where we basically peeled the onion back, and they asked me incredibly uncomfortable questions as a guy that's been in retail for 30 years, very accomplished. Confidence is not an issue for me. And then when you start peeling that onion back about why you do what you do and why do you keep doing it, or why won't you do what you want to do, it's pretty revealing. So that went on for about 4 months, and then we got almost completed in March, and the business had gotten to the point where it wasn't really fun. I mean, we couldn't get any cars. You know, we had stuff going on with, Ukraine and supplies and shortages, and, could not provide the service I wanted to provide. And I realized, you know what, if there's ever a time that I could impact many different industries, because I'm talking to people in all industries that are anything involving a sales team. If there's a time that I can truly have an impact on people, it's right now. And so my wife and I talked about it. And so, like I said, the end of March, I rolled out of there. April 1st, I started my own coaching business. And, I've been blessed. I mean, I have been able to get several clients and have numerous conversations with people that have been impacted because I enjoy what I do. It's not hard for me. It is absolutely rewarding to be able to spend time with somebody like today as an example, and him to tell me, I just can't figure out why that I'm not confident, or why is it that some people I feel real confident with and others I don't. And I said, do you want me to tell you why? He said, yeah. I said, because your belief inside isn't strong enough that when you meet someone, if they don't give you positive confirmation, then what you want to come out doesn't come out. It becomes insecure or inferior or not worthy compared to the other side. I said, that when you establish within yourself of who you are, your own belief in what you do and what you are, then that transcends, comes out of you, no matter what the personality is, how nice, how rude, how pleasant, male, female, doesn't matter. Now it's about you in the right position, and everything else plays out. He's like, I never saw that. And I go, you can't see it because you're in it. And my job is to help you find it. And when you find it and you own it, that's when you really start making strides. And that's what it's all about for me. And that's why ultimately I said, you know what? It's time for me to make the transition. I'm not getting any younger. For 10 plus years, I told myself, I'm going to jump off. I'm going to take this leap. But it never got to a point. And it was kind of like all those things came into play that I mentioned to you, that I didn't know any of these people. And then all the people that I've met was through Steve with Two Market Media everybody's been tremendous. It's a great organization. And I remember him telling me this, and I've really tried to apply this in my own business, is that it's a culture that he's created. He's only bringing in certain type of people that have a certain belief pattern and a certain quality of who they are. I mean, there's a lot of depth in the people that I've met, that it's not surface, that they are truly great people of all backgrounds and all industries. And so I count it a privilege to be involved in the family, to be honest with you.
I agree. CBAs and companies where they cherry pick who they partner with. It's not about masses of people they want to prospect or service, that they truly believe that they had the right message, right conviction, right future growth strategy that they partner with. So I'm blessed as well, working with them for several months, and brought a lot of clarity to me. So now that you're in the business of believing in yourself, when you're talking to people, what are a few key questions that you ask? How do you engage with them, and how do you get them to evaluate? Because everyone has a sell, everyone has a mission, vision, but then they back burner it, live a cushioned life of possibly corporate America, 9 to 5, pay in, pay out, check in, check out. Whereas when you are self-employed, it's a cycle of staying engaged, being successful every day, and staying motivated at all times. So when you're engaging in and coaching, training team members or prospects, what are the key things you teach them about, Jeff?
Well, the first thing I always start out with everybody is I ask them, what if I were to ask you, what is your life? How would you describe your life today? And you get all kinds of different answers, right? And then I just say, what is it that if I were to ask you, what is your greatest expectation of what your life could look like or should look like? Right. And they tell me whatever they tell me. And then I ask the question, why is it that your life doesn't mirror that? And then we typically get into the fact of, there's been something happen as a child. There's been something happen at a job, a relationship. Something got them off target, or, not to get too deep with you, but I'll tell you, I think as a child, all this stuff is formed, and there's been several studies on it. And I firmly believe in this, that we have a blueprint that when we're born, that from the first 5 to 8 years of our life, that there's a formulation of that. And I can relate to this because as a man, I'm almost 50 years old, that you go through this life of 30 years. I'm supposed to be in the car business. What I'm supposed to do. This is what I've always thought I was supposed to do. My dad did. My whole family did it. And what you realize is you start second guessing, like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And, if this will happen, I'll be happier. If this will happen, then I'll be fulfilled. And what I've realized is that, and I share this with people, is you have this blueprint of what you thought life was supposed to look like. You didn't realize it, but it got put into you when you were young. So you line your life up of what that's supposed to look like. And then when it doesn't line up, it's like you become unhappy, you become dissatisfied, you become ungrateful. And so you literally have to go through and change the blueprint to realign where your life is today. Because just because it's different doesn't mean it's wrong. I mean, I heard this and now I own it, but it's not that it's a right or wrong decision. It's a left or right. Let that resonate with you.
Correct. It's not right or wrong. It's left or right. Correct.
And so when you think about that, it's like, you know what? Just because I'm not in the car business at 30 years later, it's okay.
Yeah.
And just like somebody that's stuck in a job they hate from 9 to 5 and they're contributing, because I talk about this. Do you want to contribute to someone else's dream or yours?
Correct.
And the next question is, what has to change for you to make that choice? And you get all kinds of mirrored decisions. And then it boils down to, if the pain to stay the same doesn't become greater, then you can't have change. You've got to decide what it is that's going to come to a point where you're like, I'm done.
Yeah. And most of us, Jeff, we live a life and we fulfill other people's dreams and fulfill other people's vision, especially when you work for an organization, work for a company. While there's nothing wrong with that, but then you'll go so far because you will check in, check out, make that vision and mission come true. But if you have no passion or drive to leave a legacy behind, then you'll not be known. But to be known, you have to take the jump. You have to take the leap. And this is where, when I left corporate America in 2014, I was, had a steady income, went to grad school, had all the education, everything. But making the jump, leaving corporate America, getting real estate, I had to believe in my own mission and vision in life. And said, you know what? No one's going to come between me and my financial goal. If something comes in between, that would be me and my mindset. If I'm confident that exactly what I want, I'm going to be unstoppable. But most people, Jeff, want to have a safety net, want to have a plan B. And, for you, it took you 30 years to make that jump. Some people take a lifetime and never make that jump and live the plan B plan all their life. And they're always miserable. They may be passionate about singing, artwork, dancing, whatever it may be. I truly believe you may have a steady income job to sustain your lifestyle, put food on the table for your family. But if your passion is something else, build on the passion, do it on the side, build on. There's going to come a time you'll say, you know what, that's it, I'm done. I'm done with the success I've had in corporate America on the money I'm earning. Money may not be the most important thing then. I really work doing artwork. Then you build on that passion, because at the end of the day, once we reach a stage, Jeff, whether you have 100,000 in the bank or $1 million, your lifestyle does not change. You eat the same amount of food. Your home is not going to keep flipping every month or every year. So you reach almost state of complacency or state of cruise control. Well, I'm happy now. Now, if you're too late in your life to pick up on your passion, whatever that may be, it may be too late. So everyone should work on the passion vision from day one. And you can skew the time spent, energy spent in that direction once you feel confident about your lifestyle and expenses. And most people don't ever do it. So I truly believe quitting your job is a big step. But once you quit your job, there's no going back. But the years of experience that you have, 30 plus years, and knowledge base, nobody, nobody can take that away. So if you decide tomorrow, hey, this did not work out, I guess I made a mistake. Well, auto industry has the doors wide open with 30 plus years. Everyone will be laying a red carpet for you to come back. But making the transition, making the jump is a must do if you really want to be successful and fulfill your dreams and passions in life.
No, absolutely agree. The thing I tell people when I have this conversation that you're having right now, which is it's awesome, and you do a great job, by the way. I'm really enjoying this, but people really reconsider how bad it is when the choice is in front of them. As myself, for 10 years, I thought, I'm done. I'm quitting. I'm out. I can't take it. This is terrible. This is bad. But then you start this weigh game, right? You know, you weigh this. I had somebody use the analogy that a W-2 is like a drug, and it's slowly killing you, and you don't even realize it's like a drip. And if you don't find a way to break loose, it's kind of like they talk about. There's more dreams lost and more value in a graveyard than any place in the world.
Jeff, do you agree that we take certain action steps in life because we don't want to disappoint other people, especially people close to us? And I'm assuming over here, maybe it took you so long to make the transition 30 plus years because this was a family run business, family legacy, passed down to Jeff, daddy, mommy, uncle, aunt, brother-in-law, sister-in-law. They're all in the art industry. And here comes Jeff, but I don't believe in this. I'm going to go astray. Was there a fear in your mind that, I'm going to disappoint them and I got to live their dream? And that's why it took you so long? Or what was the thought process over there, Jeff?
There's a lot of things. There was a transition point because when I worked in the family business, I left the business in 12 with them and went out on my own with other companies from 12 to 22 for 10 years. So I spent 20 with them and 10 with other groups. But fear was definitely the biggest deal. I remember my dad's 86, mom's 84. I'm still fortunate to have them. And I remember, I called my mom and dad. And I'm like, hey, I'd like to meet you for lunch. And they're like, what? I'm like, just humor me. And so, my dad, I meet him at lunch up in Tulsa. And I sat down and go, hey, I'm making this transition. And I said, and I get emotional when I talk about it because everybody has a different relationship, but my dad is just like, he was my rock, and his health's not the greatest today. And I remember talking to him and I was like, Dad, I don't want to disappoint you, and I don't want you to be sad, and I don't want you to feel like that you've let me down or that you didn't do your part, that I'm doing something different, because it has nothing to do with that. I think this is going to fulfill me and give me what I've looked for my whole life. And I remember my dad, man, he looked at me and he was like, son, you can never disappoint me. And it was like, I remember leaving out there with my wife, and I was like, I felt like I had the weight of the world on me when I walked in there. And I'm 49 years old, man. Like I'm a 20-year-old kid, but it's like my belief of what my mom and dad felt about me was so huge. And that when my dad was like, it's okay. I know you're going to be great. I'm super excited for you. Your mom and I love you, and we know you're going to be amazing. It was like, okay, I'm good. It was like all pressure's off, nothing matters, and here we go. And it was like, not that should matter, but it's like, there's something about it, that being able to know that if you have a great relationship with your parents, people don't, I feel for that because it's tough. I know everybody does, and I get that. And for me, not that it's all been roses, because my dad's super hard. It was super hard on me when I was growing up. And I'm grateful for a majority of it. Some of it I don't think I deserve, but but at the end of the day, he was awesome. And so to have that relationship at 86, and I know how much more I'm going to have time with my mom and my dad, it's like, I had to get that. And just to do that, it wasn't that I had to get the approval technically, but I had to have that conversation.
Love it, Jeff. That validation, the pat on the back, the look in your parents' eyes and look at you and say, hey, Jeff, you may be 49 years old, but you're still a baby. And they may not have said, but they say, no, thank you for at least coming and talking to us about it.
Right.
And believing in what our vision was, but you're not gonna let me down, but you're gonna be successful. And that push of validation meant a whole lot to you because he said, now I'm unstoppable. And I'm guessing away, Jeff, you probably went to your wife first, and your wife said, honey, no matter what, I'm behind you and I support you. Then you went to your parents, and you did not go to seek the permission, but just to inform them. But the approval almost made you in beast mode. You said, wow, I got my wife, my parents to back me up. Now I'm unstoppable. Very similar story with me when I was going to leave corporate America in 2013. I went to my wife and I said, listen, you know what? I made up my mind. I'd been doing real estate part-time for 6-7 months. I wanted to quit with 6-figure job. She said, Kunal, that's what you believe in? Go ahead, do it. You know, I support you. What's interesting is that same year, 2013, I had sold my home and I was living with my sister brother-in-law. So we were transitioning because we were building a new home. Same year, Jeff, we were having a first baby. So we're living in a sister brother-in-law's home. Then I have a baby. And I had got my license with corporate America, doing it part-time. And third trimester, we had some complication. We actually had a miscarriage. So we just lost a baby in September, going through all of this, living in somebody else's home. And October, a trigger happened at my workplace. I said, I'm done with corporate America. And I came to my wife. She said, Kunal, if that's what you want to do, I back you up. So be it. Then, of course, I went to my parents. And, you know, from the culture I come from India, it's all about, you know, being safe, not taking as much risk, education, all those things. Spoke to my mom and dad, and same thing with you. You know, I need their validation, their approval, just as support. And they said, Kunal, are you sure? I mean, you went to grad school, you have all this education, corporate America. You really want to be a realtor? Because back at home, Jeff, in India, our profession is not looked up upon, it's looked down upon. You know,
same way in the car business.
Same in car business. Oh, you're a used car salesperson? That's same. If you are a realtor, same thing. They said, Kunal, I mean, I'm sure you are smart enough to evaluate. If that's what you want to do, you should do. But are you sure you want to do this? I said, yep, I'm sure I want to do it. And that was it, Jeff. I have not looked back ever since. And my growth, both professionally, personally, financially, is tenfold because now I know I have my family behind me, and I'm doing this not for me or for my wife. I'm doing it for my kids, for next generation. That's what the first generation mindset is all about. That, you know what, take things in control. Take control of your life. Believe in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody's going to believe in you. You're not your employer, not your spouse, not your parents, not your kids, not your neighbor, and of course, not your friends. If you believe in what you're doing, you may fall, you may trip, you may have setbacks, you may have failures, but you will get up yourself. You don't need somebody to lift you up and pick you up. I've fallen multiple times last 7 years, have had failures in real estate or had missteps, but every time it happens, I come back stronger and bigger and better because you know what? Nothing can stop me but me. Nobody's going to come between me. This is where I love what you're sharing today because very similar stories. Yes, it took you 30 years. It took me 12, 14 years, but my situation was different. You know what? Coming to America, I came on a student visa. Then I had to get my work permit, then green card, and then citizenship. In that process, you can't just leave your job and start being self-employed, otherwise you'll be shipped back to your home country. So I have to go through the motions of getting my status and then making the decision. But either way, where you and I stand today, we are of biggest fans for ourselves.
Yeah.
We're the biggest believer for us. And when we had that confidence, you can put anyone in front of us, someone who's successful, someone who's a failure, someone who's lost in life. We'll give them direction because everyone needs to believe in themselves. And love what you said. Believe in your sell because we all have something to sell. If you have a young kid, we sell them to eat their food on time or stay healthy. We sell our spouse, spend quality time. We sell our parents to have quality time with us. So we are selling it all the time, but believing in yourself is so critical. So I love your passion where you said, yes, you can do what you want to, but believe in yourself. Jeff, I mean, it's been tremendous. A short period of time that I got to know you and what you shared today, incredible. If someone wants to reach out to you and get you to coach them, mentor them, or train them, is that something you offer in person? Is it Zoom training? What do you offer, Jeff?
We do it in a myriad of ways. We've got, today with, virtual, you can do Zoom as we're doing today. We do one-on-ones, either through Zoom or coaching through Zoom, as well as depending on location. I'm in Oklahoma. If somebody's in proximity, then I can meet with them. Depending on the agreement, we could travel. It just depends on the situation and the company. But the best way to reach me is to send an email to info@believeInYourSell. That's SELL.com. That'll reach me, and then I can have someone reach out to you, and we can figure out what works best. And typically what I do is I meet with people for 15 or 20 minutes on a phone call, and we kind of discuss of what they're trying to accomplish, how they want to accomplish it, and what the next steps would be. And it's been really good. And like I said, I've been fortunate to meet so many people that have been a blessing to me. You today has been a blessing, as I mentioned before earlier. And I want to leave this one little tidbit with you. So people always ask me, what does this believe in yourself stuff? Like, it sounds so hokey. But here's what I take it down to when I melt everything down. No one's coming for you. No one's going to really, unfortunately, help you, right? You got to help yourself. And when you get to a point where you can decide that I'm going to stand up and I'm going to believe in what I'm doing, and I'm going to literally change my mindset, what I call a mindset shift, and you're able to actually take what was and become what is, and now you're building this bridge from the old you to the new you. And by that, what I mean is that every time you pick up the phone, your belief is they're going to answer. And every time that they answer, your belief is they're going to be interested in what you have to offer, because it is so compelling because of your belief that you are going to find a way to solve their problem, and they're going to leave away a fan of yours, not just a client. And they're going to tell everyone about the experience that, because now you have a relationship, and it all started because you had the own belief to take what was already inside of you and to bring it outside so you could share that with others and take other people to the next level so they can actually get the outcome they've always dreamed of.
Fantastic. I mean, this is incredible. Are you considering writing a book, Jeff?
I have. I was talking to Coach Bird about it, but for me, and this, like I said, going back to Steve with 2 Market Media, it was like painful for me. I'm a talker. You haven't figured it out yet or not. So, I mean, I'm on the phone or I'm talking to people 8 hours a day. So at the end of the day, it's like, God, I need some iced tea or something. I'm parched. But, at the end of the day, it's like, yes, to answer your question, but it's like being able to take all this information, which Steve did an amazing job in peeling it out and being able to put it on paper and doing it in a format, which, you'll find, and, everybody has their strong suit, right? Mine is communication, connecting. It's not dictation and putting it on paper. So I've got to get somebody that can take this information that I share and put it into the right format, because I do believe that I've got the ability to make that happen.
I'm holding up the manuscript for my book, The First Generation Mindset.
I love it.
6 months back, writing a book, I was like, who has the time to write a book? But see, when you have a message, and my message is the first generation mindset.
Yep.
If I have a message, yes, I can be on stages, I can be on podcasts, but putting in writing in a book validates and gives a context, a storyline behind what my belief system is. So, I mean, I'm a big advocate now that if you have a strong message, which you do, Jeff, which is believe in yourself, the story behind what made you believe in yourself to make you believe in yourself is what people need to hear about. And whether it's now, takes you a month, 6 months, or a year. But the next step for you is to write a damn book, Jeff.
Yeah.
Just read that. And when your kids, I know you have 2 daughters, 18 and 20-year-old, they're going to come back and say, my daddy was a best-selling author. And that's his message. And that's part of leaving a legacy behind, Jeff.
Yeah.
That's part of leaving a legacy. So can I get a commitment from you? The next time I talk to you, you're in the process of writing a book, Jeff?
Hey, here's what I will commit to. I'll be actively moving in that to make something happen. But to the timeline, I don't know yet.
Love it. It's a thought process, because, it took you some time to make the transition. It's a seed I'm planting in your head today. And if you don't write a book, you write a book, there's nothing that I gain or lose out of that. Yeah. But your message is powerful. Your message must be heard, read, by millions, if not billions, at a global level. And that's where it starts off with being clear about what our message is and get it out there. Jeff, it was super incredible engaging with you this morning, hearing your story, your background coming from auto industry for over 3 decades, and your family legacy of being in the business for years and years and years. But this year you said, I am done. I'm going to believe in myself and believe in myself. This is where transitioning this year into being a self-employed person, coaching, mentoring people is inspirational. I want to wish you the best of luck, Jeff, but you shared, if someone to reach out to you, the email address is info@believeininyoursell. That's SELL.com.
Yes, sir.
And are you on LinkedIn, social media?
Yeah, they can just go to at Jeff Yates Coaching, and that'll find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram.
Perfect. Hey, Jeff, it was super amazing having you on the podcast today. I look forward to working with you and bringing mutual success to organizations.
Hey, thank you. And by the way, first generation mindset, I love it because it all starts with the one.
Correct. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.